Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about the transit south node sextile or trine one's natal Chiron. Now, this transit may manifest in what you're going away from, your past, what you're naturally proficient in, what could be affecting you to your detriment, and being in harmony with physical and emotional wounds, helping and healing others and suffering. Now, I'm going to elaborate and expound on that. This is not about what's affecting you to your detriment. Is really literally in harmony with your suffering or anguish or some emotional turmoil you may be going through. But what this is, it's very positive for what you're going away from, which could be some kind of suffering. It could be anguish. It could be some kind of emotional turmoil, physical and emotional wounds. The things that may be affecting you to your detriment may be something where you can allow at this time go through the healing process, be able to heal perhaps from this, and also maybe use these experiences to help and heal others at this time as well. If you're going through, if you have say your natal Chiron, is in Capricorn, the fourth house as an example, you could be in some kind of depressing home situation or dealing, some kind of, authoritative or overly ruthless or cold or callous family member, or there's difficulties you're having in planning for that latter part of life. Capricorn is about premeditation. The fourth house is connected with the latter part of life, and it's something where you could be able to help these people in doing so, because you have the transit south node, which can be connected with what you feel is at least a natural ability for at the time of the transit. And if it's making the sextile or trine to the natal Chiron, it could show the ability. It could really accentuate that ability to help others and heal others in connection with that natal Chiron placement. I want to say though that the south node, the transit of the south node, doesn't supplant or replace your natal position, of course, because the natal south node is a constant. It's there with you during the entirety of your life. It's of course more accentuated and emphasized in the first half, of one's life up to around age 30 or 35, but it's still with you during the course of your life. Now, the transit of the south node, you can benefit actually from the positive transits during the time when it's occurring, but it's not. It's just with you really during that time of the transit. And some of you may wonder, okay, what is the difference between this transit and the conjunction transit that involves the south node and Chiron? Well, the thing is, they're comparable, but they're not exactly or precisely the same. The transit south node making a sextile or trine to the natal Chiron is auspicious. It's flowing. It's a good blending, a harmonious blending of the energies that are involved with it. But when you have the conjunction is a neutral aspect. It can have good and bad qualities in it. It's very concentrated energy. It's integrating, intensifying. But what happens is when you have the conjunction aspect, it can be so concentrated that it can make you oblivious to other things that need certain attention in your life, and it could be to the exclusion of other things. When you have the sextile or trine, it's a good blending of those energies, but it's not necessarily to the exclusion of other things. And for example, if you have the transit south node making a conjunction to the natal Chiron, it could be that someone prominent in your past may be there for you to help you deal with some kind of physical or emotional suffering, but which is not bad. But at the same time, it can be to a point where it's dominating your existence, to where you might be, again, it might be to the exclusion of other things in your life. So that's how these the transits can differ. Now, the thing about this is another thing about this transit. Chiron is connected with ineptitude, and where we feel there may be some ineptitude. And if you have your natal Chiron, say in Taurus and or the second house in your chart, there might be some, at least feelings of ineptitude, if not actual ineptitude, in monetary matters, being able to make money, or something connected with persistence, patience, and perseverance. And it can be a time where, again, somebody prominent from your past may be beneficial in you dealing with it at this time. And it's also a good time to where you might maybe able to have some natural ability you feel you have at this time to actually deal with that with where you feel that weaknesses at this time, that certain ineptitude in your life. And it's also a time where, it could be, a positive time for going away from and leaving behind. It could be, some form of depleted or diminished self-esteem in your life. If you have your natal Chiron in Aries and or the first house as an example, it could be, some issues, with identity, who you are. It might be some issues that are, if you have your, let's say, for example, if you have your natal Chiron and Aries in the 12th house like I do, it might be, diminished self-esteem may be attributed to, just simply not being able to confront or speak out regarding hidden adversaries, people that may have been impersonating themselves as friends but were actually enemies, and or not taking action to work through limitations, isolation. I still believe I have suffering that I'm going through in connection with that. Remember, the 12th house is also the house associated with secret sorrows. It's it's a time as well where when you have this transit, it's about it can be very positive for dealing, with that deepest pain. Remember, when you have the transit, of the South Node making a sextile or trine to your natal Chiron, naturally, the transit of the North Node is doing the same thing. It's making a sextile or trine to the natal Chiron. If you have your transit South Node making a sextile aspect to the natal Chiron, the transit North Node is making a trine aspect to the natal Chiron. If the transit South Node is making a trine to your natal Chiron, the transit North Node will be making a sextile to the natal Chiron. So so when that happens, having the North Node making a good aspect of the natal Chiron, it's easy to address and confront those issues which may be connected, with your deepest pain. If you have your natal Chiron, say in the zodiac sign Cancer and or the fourth house, it could be some, issues that are connected, with your home, your family. There might be feelings of ostracism from at least one home or family member, or could simply be from your family in general. There may be problems getting prepared for the latter part of your life. Um, if you have your natal Chiron in the fourth house, it could be issues, maybe not be negative qualities you're expressing that you have at the core that are coming out very negatively. And the Chiron is also connected with the key. So it's also a time to be able to address and deal with those issues that are associated with the key, and do the key to maybe extricating yourself from your hurt. If the transit, let's say if you have your natal Chiron in Pisces in the 11th house, you might be going through suffering due to betrayal or deception or duplicity by friends, but the key to resolving those issues may simply be showing compassion and forgiveness toward those people. Now, this transit can also be positive for going away from, which is the South Node, something that could be causing you, some kind of suffering, which is Chiron. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back, but anyway. Let's say the natal Chiron, again, going back to this example, the natal Chiron is in Pisces in the 11th house. It could be dealing, some kind of betrayal or deception or duplicity, which is Pisces. It could be by a friend, or it could be by somebody in some that's prominent in some group, club, or organization, which is the 11th house. And it can also be an auspicious time to do something that you feel some natural ability in or certain proficiency in this time, which is the South Node. And in being assisted, it could be maybe by healers, which I would say could be connected with Chiron. Let's say, for example, if the transit South Node is in Gemini, it might be using some ability for connected with communication, articulating things, manual dexterity. It could be ability to multitask, and also to people that are prominent in your past, which is the South Node, may be in more harmony and agreement with how you help and heal others, which is Chiron. If let's say if the natal Chiron is in Sagittarius in the 8th house, it could be helping others, with maybe a philosophical, which is Sagittarius, a transformation, which is the 8th house. And it's also could be a propitious time to simply leave behind, which is the South Node, something to focus on healing wounds. Let's say if you have your natal Chiron, say it's in Scorpio in the 6th house, it could simply be, that might actually be some physical related wounds associated with the colon, the bladder, the prostate, the urinary tract, or the reproductive system. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.